listeners, I want you to think about this. Think of all the most expensive things, period. They're all physical. Think of all the luxury things in life you want. They're probably all physical. No one's over here going, I want this digital-only thing that costs $250,000. I want this digital-only thing that costs $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. The people who are thinking that, they're already super wealthy, super rich. But the everyday person, the person who I would say who's making less than a few million a year, all they want is physical. Or if it's a service, it's going to be a service that is going to lead to something that's physical.
Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of.
All right. Money is on my mind indeed. Yes, everybody. This is Darrin Harvey, your gracious host of Financial State of Minds, and I'm joined by co-host Maurice Shabazz, and this is Financial State of Minds. Just to remind you if you didn't hear me the first time, and this is the show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss financial literacy, business literacy, and anything, everything to do with the almighty power of the dollar. And you are now tuned in and tapped into KGPC 96.9 FM, streaming right now on KGPC969.org and available on all streaming platforms of choice. So as we're moving on to episode 83, we have a co-host over here, Shabazz, came up with the topic today. So Shabazz, he's kind of going to lead the episode because I'm tired. This asset reflex is kicking my butt, but I'm here doing my thing. And thank God my voice is not that jacked up. So Shabazz, what are we talking about today?
All right, we're going to talk about physical real estate. Is physical real estate still king when it comes to building wealth versus digital real estate?
Yeah, so you told me that topic literally an hour ago. Yes, listeners, about an hour ago. So when I heard about the topic, I like it. How did you come up with it, by the way?
Be honest with you, ChatGPT.
I had to feel like it's good. Hey, I use ChatGPT all the time. So
speaking of digital real estate, so I've been using Notebook LM, which is a Google product. Mm-hmm. And when I have my thoughts and ideas and stuff like that, I just jot them down on the Notebook LM. And side by side, AI will brainstorm on them thoughts and kind of expand on the thoughts and ideas that I basically input in there.
Yeah, we were talking about that offline before. So is that available across personal and work Googles or just one of the other sides?
A Gmail account, you just have to go to Google Workspace Labs, and basically you have to just basically agree to the terms and stuff like that, privacy and all this other stuff. And once you do that, when you go to Google Sheets or you go to Google Notebook LM or PowerPoint or anything, or even Google Docs, you'll see that AI is enabled on there to help you if you need it to help you write, or if you need it to help you create a spreadsheet or whatever it is. Basically, you have AI to assist you with that.
Got you. Okay, that's dope. So when you kind of let me know that was a topic, I was instantly thinking, okay, basically physical versus digital, the age-old, probably people have been talking about this at least my entire lifetime, 30, 35 plus years. Digital versus physical. Where is it at right now? Well, look, you came up with the topic, so let's start with you. What's your initial take on this?
Well, physical real estate has always been the cornerstone of the American dream. You know, if you ever, I don't know so much about the new generation, but in my generation and generations before, it was like you get married, you have some kids, and you have a house, and with a picket white fence. That was the American dream. That was traditionally what it was. Mm-hmm. And I know my ancestors had believed in that, like my grandmother, my grandfather, the elders, they believed in that heavily, that real estate was king when it came to wealth. Like if you owned a piece of real estate, you actually were building wealth. They weren't too educated when it came to insurance and stock and all these other different investments that you could make. But real estate was the one that everybody seemed to gravitate to when it came to building wealth. Now, today, as we fast forward to 2026, is it still the cornerstone of wealth? And when I ask myself that question, I guess it really depends. Because with real estate, it's an up and down market too. But for the most part, if you look over the last 10, 20 years, it goes up over time more than anything, right? Versus going down. I mean, it'll fluctuate here and there, but over time, it's going up, right?
Yeah. So before you continue, to clarify for the people, when you say real estate, you literally mean real estate as in property? Or are you talking about, just property? Okay.
Yeah, physical real estate.
Okay,
yeah.
Physical property. Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, and if you look, it actually goes up over time. And as you continue to make your mortgage payments and stuff like that, your equity goes up and you could pull out of it. It's almost like a line of credit that fluctuates, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, HELOC.
Exactly.
Yeah, HELOC,
right.
home equity line of credit. So
then some people who are a lot more savvy when it comes to real estate, they have learned how to manage debt and leverage debt. Some people don't get to that point where they learn how to do that, but if you know how to leverage debt, then basically you could pretty much live tax-free for the most part if you learn how to leverage debt good enough. So real estate is more of a good debt. When you look at different kind of debts that you can have, they say real estate debt is better than any kind of debt from what I've understood and what I've studied, because everything else, pretty much the physical, and that's probably why China owns so much of the real estate in the United States, because the land, and not even just the property, the land is also worth something, right? Mm-hmm. So without the physical property, only land is worth something, right?
Yeah.
So right now it's turning into a renter's nation. I remember it was so backwards when I first got into real estate 20 years ago, because back then in California, other places probably different, but in California, if you actually owned a house and you rented it out, it didn't even cover the mortgage. Like the amount of rent that you were getting did not cover the mortgage. You had to pay some extra money with it to actually make up the mortgage. Now, where rent is at, it covers the mortgage, and you could actually put some in your pocket. So it's definitely flipped, and it's becoming a renter's nation. So it's like, you actually want to get in on real estate and not get shut out of it. I'm not going to go too far and I'm to the digital part. I'll let you go ahead and take over for that. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on the physical real estate.
Yeah, so when you say, is real estate the cornerstone of investing at this point, or has it moved on to digital? I'm going to answer that in many, many different ways. So historically, yeah. Historically, it was real estate, or it was physicalness. That was the cornerstone of investing. For those who don't know, real estate became affordable for the average American around the 70s, I believe, is when the modern 30-year mortgage came out to be, essentially, is when it came out. So it's actually not super duper old concept, but around the 70s is when the 30-year mortgage came out. And that is where, not the 70s, the 50s. I think it's the 50s, after World War II. Because basically all the veterans are coming back. Women were in the workforce, so the expansion stuff happened. I believe, if I got my history correct, it was around the 50s. That's when the 30-year mortgage came out, and it was pretty much one individual salary could buy a family home. And that was pretty much the case all the way up until about 2008, and then a little housing crisis happened. But even after the crisis, that only lasted where it became a little bit more difficult. It was really only from 2008, a little bit of 2007, but mostly 2008, all the way to about 2011, 2012. And then we had another 13-year run, basically until the pandemic. And even through the pandemic, if you could, the interest rates made it so that it was easy to get in and invest into housing, whether it's your primary residence or if it's investing. So that's a little background history of it. And that's why it was the cornerstone, because the interest rates and the pricing of the house were at places where most people, if they just worked a job, whether it was one individual back before I was alive and it became dual income, as long as you had a job that's decently paying, you can qualify to own a home. And then after one generation, that home gets passed down to the children, and then that's how you start generational wealth. Easy peasy. So that's how it worked back then. If I were to do it today, would I choose that today? No. No. Definitely not for investing. Of course, if I want to live in a house, that's totally different. We're not talking about that. But as far as investing, I would not. I'll frame it like this. If I had $1 million and I live in California, I am not buying property right away with $1 million. I'm not doing that. I would put it in the stock market, and then at some point I would borrow against the stocks and then buy the real estate. But I would put it in the stock market. If numbers always are debatable depending on your sourcing, but the numbers I look at, stock market has actually done better over real estate in the last 20 years. So stock market done better. If you own a business that is primarily a service or a digital service, you are making more money. I actually looked it up before we started. Top 10 companies or industries that have the highest profits right now, we know them. It's Amazon, it's Google, it's Meta, Nvidia, Apple, of course, Coca-Cola, and then we're going to get into the utilities. So your oil, those are all your top 10 companies right now. Some of them only sell physical, but most of them at this point, they sell both. They sell physical and they sell digital products. But if you do even more research, you learn that the bulk of the money is coming from digital. So I would go with digital now. One way I would answer the topic is if I were to start a business now, or if I were to start today in 2026, absolutely digital. I'm going digital 100%. You're going to make more money that way with less initial investment. It's going to be digital. Now, to your point about real estate being the cornerstone, that is still absolutely the case for, you said it earlier, if you don't want to pay taxes. If you don't want to pay taxes, you do two things. Get yourself some real estate or get yourself a nonprofit. If you don't want to pay taxes, you do two things. Get yourself some real estate or get yourself a nonprofit, preferably a nonprofit that is brick and mortar, i.e. real estate again. To my understanding, you have more tax advantages owning real estate than anything else, like nothing else. Not a business, not having kids, not anything. It's real estate. Real estate will give you the most tax advantages. That's why if we look at rich people, it doesn't matter the level of wealth. They can have $10 million net worth, $50 million net worth, $250,000 net worth, billionaire, trillionaire, whatever. Whether they're companies or individuals, but especially if they're individuals, if you notice, they all have real estate. Real estate could look like the business, a physical brick and mortar, or real estate could be, like you said earlier, just straight up property, houses, apartments, whatever. Rich people have real estate because it's a great way to reduce your income because you can write off basically everything. And that's how you get around legally. You get around a lot of these taxes. So me, because I have experience in both, I was a landlord for 10 years and now I own a crap ton of investments in the stock market. They both have their pros and cons. Ultimately, you should have both. But the way I would definitely say it is, if we're starting today in 2026 and I'm just an everyday person, I'm going digital right now. Lesser to invest, lesser startup costs, higher profit margins. And then eventually after I do well in that, then I'm going to go buy some property because I don't care what people say. Yeah, crypto is taking a hit right now, but overall still up a ridiculous amount over the last 10, 15 years. But gold and silver and houses, they're always going to be valuable. They may not be having the sexy 500% ROIs over the last 10 years or gold doing 60% last year. It may not be sexy and crazy like that, but are you going to be okay? You're going to be comfortable if you own a house or two and you rent that out? Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just breaking even. I actually know somebody where they rent out their property and it breaks even, but it helps them out on the taxes, like I said earlier. So it's a great debate. You can't go wrong with either. But like I said, again, if I'm starting in 2026, I'm building a digital business, selling digital service and products, and eventually making my way to real estate. But yeah, if you look at the list, top 10 companies, not one of them, McDonald's actually wasn't in the top 10 highest profiting companies when I looked it up. I was actually surprised. McDonald's was not there.
McDonald's is a real estate company.
It's a real estate company. Well, it's interesting. So if you look it up, it's categorized as fast food restaurant industry, but we know their business model is basically real estate. But that's my initial take, is you can't go wrong with real estate. It has a historical precedence to this, and it's not going away. I don't care what people say. And to your point, and I'll finish it up, there's a reason why, following up on our last episode, everybody's becoming a renter. And if you own property, unless you're just literally underwater, unless you have literally negative equity, you're winning right now. It doesn't matter if you're in California, or it doesn't matter if you're in Montana. You're winning right now if you own some property right now. So you can't go wrong with either. You can't go wrong with either right now.
I agree. I totally agree. There was some good points that you had when it comes to the taxes. I think that, don't get me wrong. Digital real estate is highly profitable. Mm-hmm. It's highly profitable. It has nowhere near the same tax breaks as real estate. Nowhere near. So I guess that's a downside to it. Can I make more with digital real estate than I would with real estate? Probably the speed of it would be faster. I would definitely say that. The speed of funds would definitely be faster with digital real estate. However, it's kind of crazy because I don't know exactly where, because I see people that have digital real estate in the metaverse, and it's like this whole cyber world where if you actually, if anybody actually has experienced the metaverse, and actually, let's say you could be playing a game on the metaverse, right? And you could be riding down the street, and you could be on a highway, and then you see on the top of the hill or the top of the mountain, they have a billboard. And let's say you have a store in the metaverse. Let's say you have a clothing store, and you say, a lot of people play that game. I want to see how much it would cost. How much would they charge me to have my clothing line on that billboard? Since so many people play the game, they're going to see that. And then they will go to my store, because basically they have it in the metaverse where you could walk into a store and actually have a shopping experience in the metaverse. And you could buy that shirt or that hoodie or those shoes, and basically you can actually have the physical product. You buy it and you have it shipped, but it's like having a shopping experience and in the cyber world, right?
Right.
So digital real estate is going to get crazy over the years. So I don't know exactly what way. I've seen people say they sold some property in the metaverse, and it was like for thousands and thousands of dollars. So I'm just like, well, if that's I know it doesn't come with the tax breaks. It's physical real estate. It's getting a little crazy.
Yeah, I remember having these conversations initially a few years ago, and all like you said earlier, there's going to be the metaverse, and people are going to have digital avatars of themselves, and it's going to be that mix-in. It's going to be like you said earlier. You're going to be able to walk around the metaverse, and you might literally see a meta version of McDonald's that's actually being ran by actual McDonald's, or a Joe Schmo's barbecue place is there, and it's actually being ran by Joe Schmo. And Joe Schmo and McDonald's has to pay for that real estate with digital currency, a la crypto or something like that. So I remember having these conversations on Clubhouse when I was on it actively back in 2021, for those who remember Clubhouse. But
it's still around, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still around. It's just not, it exploded in 2020, 2021. And then, it never had the same following or membership. But it's still doing its thing, not knocking it. But my take is, this could be the future, but definitely I don't believe it's going to happen in any of our lifetimes. One thing I always tell people is that people don't like change, and people don't like change, number one. They don't like change. Number two, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, people like physicalness. People inherently value things that are physical and are tangible more than things that are not. All these companies, I said it earlier. Well, Darrin, you said the top 10 companies are basically all selling digital products or services. You're right, they are. There's more money to be made there. But listeners, I want you to think about this. Think of all the most expensive things, period. They're all physical. Think of all the luxury things in life you want. They're probably all physical. No one's over here going, I want this digital only thing that costs $250,000. I want this digital only thing that costs $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. The people who are thinking that, they're already super wealthy, super rich. But the everyday person, the person who I would say who's making less than a few million a year, all they want is physical. They want physical. Or if it's something, or if it's a service, it's going to be a service that is going to lead to something that's physical. So going back to the American dream, you're right. There was one thing you missed other than the wife, kids, and the white picket fence. You want to send your kids to college.
Right.
You want to make sure that your kids have a legacy that's left behind. When we think about stuff like that, we're thinking physical. So it's inherently, we as humans, at least right now, we are valuing physical. And that's how I am. I just value physical. So even though, to your point earlier, there's digital companies, there's all these companies, again, selling digital products, whether it's entertainment, whether it's streaming, whatever, we all want real estate, right? It would just be cool for people to just have real estate. When we're all thinking, oh, we have 10, 20 millionaires, and we're all having these fun conversations, we're thinking we're going to buy houses, we're thinking we're going to buy the fanciest, most luxury cars, we're getting boats, we're getting jewelry. We want physical items. We want physical items. That's just what we want. So it's inherently more valuable. That's just how people see it. Now, what's curious, and you kind of said it at the top, you don't know about these newer generations. Well, I'm the generation right after you, and I really look at the Gen Z and especially Gen Alpha. What we're seeing is that specifically with Gen Alpha, they don't want to own property. They don't want to own property. Gen Z wants to, but they kind of gave up. Kind of like how millennials are. Millennials are at a point where we really, really want to, but we're starting to give up because it's just, we're in our mid-30s, we're in our 40s, and a lot of us don't have houses. And I don't know a single millennial. I can't think of a single millennial who owns a house and they're single. They're by themselves. All the millennials I know who own property, couples.
Or they sold it.
Or they sold it, right. Because they had to usually. Or they didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, Gen Z is starting to give up. And Alpha, they have no interest. They have no interest. So you have kids, Shabazz, just like I do. What have you noticed from the younger generations when it comes to what they want between digital and physical? Have you noticed a shift?
I mean, it's definitely a shift. They want physical things, for sure. Like you said, they definitely want physical products, right? However, digital has become a big part of that. And the amount of funds that they spend on these things and all these different subscription models. I looked on my son's phone and I looked at his subscriptions on his iPhone. And I'm like, man, you got more subscriptions than me. And so it's become to where it's part of a lifestyle now. I think the lifestyle for the younger generation is not to own a house. I don't even think that's the mindset. Like, hey, I want to own a house or I want to own property. It's more like, hey, I just want to live in a nice apartment and I just want to play my video games, put on my Oculus, and just zone out in the cyber world. And it seems that's kind of the energy, you know. It's like, hey, I want to be on my YouTube channel, and a lot of it is digital, social media. You look at all these different things, and social media is moving so much towards digital. The only platform that's not really just on this whole digital wave that I could say right now, but I'm pretty sure they're moving towards it, is TikTok. TikTok has focused so much on selling physical products to where they're saying that TikTok Shop is giving Amazon a run for their money right now because there's so many people are selling so many products through TikTok Shop, not Facebook, not any other platform, TikTok Shop.
Yeah.
So when I look at that, I'm just like, wow, they really have changed the game on how people buy products. And it's crazy. I got to give it to TikTok. I got to give them some credit. They have changed the game on a lot of things. They made Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and all these other platforms change their whole algorithm, right? When TikTok came around, it was like, yeah, people would go on Facebook and Instagram, and we would watch reels and stuff like that. But TikTok had mastered people just binge watching.
Yeah, the short form.
Yeah, short form videos. And Facebook, and they were like, we got to get rid of this platform.
Yeah.
It's taking people away from our platform, and then you could grow a TikTok account way faster, light years faster than you could a Facebook page or an Instagram account. It was just, you look up on TikTok, people will have hundreds and thousands of followers, even millions.
Yeah.
And people say it just moves faster, and speed is a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely, speed is a huge factor. The time factor is so prevalent when it comes to these things. People take speed over anything. Anything that's faster, people are going to go to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just a reminder, listeners, you're listening to Darrin Harvey, Maurice Shabazz over here at Financial State of Minds on KGPC 96.9 FM. I hear what you're saying. Definitely going back to Gen Alpha, Gen Z, but particularly Alpha, not wanting physical things anymore. What I noticed, and unfortunately I have to give my generation all the credit, millennials, we started this trend of valuing experiences. So I have a friend who, he works at Google. He makes good money. And he is my age. He's actually a year older than me. And he doesn't own anything, even though he absolutely has the income and the finances to own, because he just wants to travel. That's all he does. He literally travels monthly. Between work and personal pleasure, it's monthly. And he's in a different country or state monthly. And what I'm seeing is that's what the younger generations are really adopting. They're valuing the experiences over the physical property or products. And they're really valuing social media and just, I guess you can say, basically social clout. They want to be popular. Like, they want to be popular. Now, the scale may be different for every Gen Z or Alpha person, but they want to be popular. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. That's important to them. Whether it's them being a streamer, whether it's them being a content creator on YouTube or whatever. That's just the lanes that they're looking at right now. But I do think there is some, again, disadvantages to digital only. Yes, I always tell people when I'm consulting business-wise, if you're going to open up a business, please make it a digital business that sells digital products, or because it's lower startup, higher profit margins, because you can sell one thing endlessly. That's the beauty about owning a digital business. But alluding to what I said earlier, the number one things everything won in life, it was not an issue. It's all physical. It's all physical. So I am kind of worried that the younger generations is not valuing that, because ultimately it doesn't matter what 80, 90% of the population thinks. It really matters what the top 10 or really the top 1% think, because they dictate everything else. So my thing is this: these younger generations and even millennials like me, we may have a certain preference, we have a certain things, and that's cool, but values not only dictated by the everyday person, but it's really set by the 1%. The 1% is Lamborghini or Ferrari. I just seen Ferrari's, the company Ferrari, they beat profit and they beat revenue. Even though everybody's struggling and everything. And that's one thing that I learned is the super rich and the super luxury, they still buy it regardless of recession. Regardless of how the 99% are doing, they're still buying that. And if you notice what they're buying, again, it's physical. That's why you see all these super rich people buying art, physical art. Yeah, we had the little NFT boom, stuff like that, and it's still doing its thing, but that bubble definitely bursted. But when rich people are trying to spend their money, they're trying to spend their money on physical things. It's not digital. It is not digital. So ultimately, like, if I had to pick one, and just as far as preference, personal preference, it would be physical. But if I'm advising people on what to do right now, everyday person, I would advise them to go the digital route. That's where the growth is. That is definitely where the growth is, digital. It's not so much physical. It is digital. But you have any more takes around digital versus physical or digital versus real estate at this point?
Yeah, I do. I sit back and when I think about it, I think one of the things is that people, and even especially the younger generation, older generation too, I believe one thing that they overlook when it comes to the digital side is that you have less control.
Yeah, so true.
If anything was ever to happen, and let's say the internet just went out, it's going to be people that ain't going to know what to do with themselves, right? Because they have wrapped their whole world in around this whole digital cyber world. And that's the scary part. And I don't think people even think about that. Like, if I'm so invested into this digital world and I have very little physical, if something was to happen, you're hit. You got people who can't even, they're solely reliant on technology. Like, some people don't even know their mother's phone number by heart, right? They make it to where not even only that, it's your digital footprint is everywhere. Like, you're putting your thumbprint in the phone, you're putting your face in the phone, you got your eyes in there. And now you can't even do anything unless you actually have your digital footprint to verify it's you, right? So when we look at all these things, it's quite scary because if anything was ever to happen, and I look at when TikTok was down for a couple days, people were freaking out. People were going crazy. Like, what's going on? It reminded me that people were so reliant on this. Like, this is their life. If they couldn't get on TikTok that day, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And I just really think the things that are tangible, the things that you can physically touch, the things that you can physically see and grab and have that physical thing or whatever it is, there's nothing that can replace that that's digital. That's the thing. Digital could be here today, gone tomorrow. What's digital now might be cool today, but then there's something that's better that's going to be digital that's going to come out tomorrow.
Right.
And I just think that whereas even down to the spending is so critical because now as we move further into this digital world now, and if you ask me personally, would you prefer digital currency or would you prefer physical currency? I probably 9 times out of 10 would tell you physically because physical currency. And the reason why is because I don't want everything that I spend my dollar on to be traced. I don't want everything that I spend to be traced. I don't. I may not want everybody to know what kind of deodorant I use. I may not want everybody to know what kind of soap I'm using. And it's just the idea is like if they have all this data, now they can control it. Now they can put stuff in it. They can do things to it and stuff like that and see how people react to this and see how people react to that.
Right.
And it's just so much information and there's so much control. And I just think that people don't think about that downside to it to where you really don't have, you're losing a huge amount of privacy.
Yeah, and we talked about this in our previous episode, the one right before this, but to expand upon it, when you have the convenience of digital, let's take your movie or TV show that you like. You have the convenience, great. You just log on to Netflix, click a button, internet's so fast now, the show loads within a second or two, bam, you're watching it. Convenience of that can't be beat at this point. However, the trade-off is you don't own that show. You don't own a copy of that show. You don't own a copy of that show. So if Netflix loses the license and they take it off and that show decides, let's just say the show is Sons of Anarchy or whatever. Say it was on Netflix. Netflix doesn't want to pay the renewal on the license and now goes to HBO Max. Well, now you got to pay for HBO Max if you don't pay for it. And now it's more expensive that way. So you lose the control when you gain the convenience. You actually pay more money because, let's be real, all these streaming services have hundreds, if not thousands, of TV shows and different forms of media content, but you're not watching, maybe a tenth of it, maybe? and you're paying a reoccurring fee instead of just buying all the copies of the shows you want and then you be done. You see what I'm saying? I'd be willing to bet. Listeners, feel free to comment. Add up all your subscriptions. Let's focus on the video streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever, and the music ones like Spotify, Apple Music. Mm-hmm. I bet you people pay more money a month for the subscriptions than when compared to when it was back in the physical days they were buying movies. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, people are paying $200 a month for subscriptions and they weren't buying $200 worth of music and movies in 1 month.
Right.
So it's more expensive. So you're losing the control, like you said earlier. It's more expensive, and you don't even own it. So that goes back to the control. You can lose the rights. You could pay for it. Imagine paying for a show that you like to watch for 5 years, and you can't watch it no more. They're not giving your money back. Netflix is not like, oh, we're going to give a dividend because you watched Sons of Anarchy 500 times over the course of the last 3 years. We're going to give you a dividend of $100. Like, it doesn't work like that. You're paying for the access. That's all you're doing. You're paying for the access. You don't even own the copy no more. A lot of people are just fine with it. They accepted it. They're okay with it, whether they have a choice or not. And a lot of people don't even have a choice because that's the most affordable way. I just read a little article that HP is getting into renting out laptops. And back in the day when a lot of these companies were renting out stuff, Blockbuster, anything where you can rent out a physical thing, there would be an option to, once you've paid a certain amount of payments, you would just own it.
Yeah.
Right? I think that was the thing with Blockbuster. If you never returned the cassette tape, you just keep it and they would just charge it to your account.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, company said, oh, no, that means we stop making money. No, we don't want to do that. You could never own it. So HP just said, oh, yeah, if you want not HP, I can't think of it. It's a computer company, but they make gaming laptops. And what they said is, you want the most expensive, you want the best of the best when it comes to gaming laptop. Well, we know you can't afford it because RAM prices have shot up 300+%, 5 times, 500%. Storage is going up. So we know you can't afford it. So if you want to be able to play the Grand Theft Auto 6 when it eventually comes to PC at the top specs possible, you can't buy that $2,000 laptop. You can't buy that $3,000 laptop because the RAM piece is now $1,000 itself. You're going to have to rent it from us. Oh, how much you want to pay for rent? Oh, we're only charging $50, but $50 committed for 3 years. You done paid more than what the laptop is worth, and you don't even own it.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And that's kind of what a lot of people are afraid of. So that's one aspect. I want to go back, and I'm going to keep going. I want to go to the data. One thing that I'm afraid of with this digital era is, you said it earlier, going back to control and data. What's happening is, and this is what I'm fearing, with AI in this digital era, the value of people's skills are actually going to decrease because AI can do it. So everyone's valuable in one way that everybody shares, and that's your data. That's how Google, Facebook, TikTok, all these companies have been making money. It's because you agree to share your data. When you talk to Alexa, that's your data. When you talk to Meta AI, that's your data. When you're Googling in with Gemini, that's your data. When you create a Gmail, that's your data. You're giving your data away left and right, left and right, left and right. Well, that was okay because it was really valuable. And maybe you had certain skills that could up your value. Well, if AI can do the skills that you had that was earning you a 50, 60K salary a year in California, your skills are not as valuable no more. So your only value is going to be data. It's going to be data. So it is worrisome, and it's why, again, physical products is my preferred method. Like when you said earlier, 100% I'd rather have physical dollars. I'd rather have something that's always backed by something that is physical. I own a crap ton of money in stocks. It's backed by physical companies. So people, they need to think about all this. It's happening. And, and I know this is not the most exciting thing to talk about. I'm pretty sure people are talking about how Bad Bunny's performance in the Super Bowl is right now. But in the meanwhile, Bad Bunny probably has a crap ton of money invested in real estate right now. He has a crap ton of money invested in these tangible things that are making him money. He may have got his bag selling a digital service a la a musician, but I guarantee you the way he's investing is all physical. It's all physical. So, yeah, it's an interesting world we're going in with AI and everything. Digital versus physical. That's going to be the topic for a while now.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things, man, and I was having a conversation with somebody earlier this week about, is that with this digital world, you look at a lot of people who make music, right? And like you were saying, back in the day, you had to physically actually go and buy a tape or a cassette or a DVD, right? Or a CD. Mm-hmm. And basically you actually had to buy the single or you bought the album, right? And now you have, especially independent artists, right? Now, if somebody wants to go listen to your song on one of these streaming platforms, they're giving you less than a penny.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Some of the older artists are talking about, Snoop Dogg being one of them, he's talking about taking all his stuff down off the streaming platform.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. Mm-hmm.
There's other artists that are well-established artists that are talking about the same thing. Like, I'm going to take my music off of these streaming platforms, and you want to get it, you're going to have to go here, and you're going to have to pay for it, right? I believe a lot of artists should take a lot of the pages out of some of the older artists that actually were selling trunks and, selling cassettes out of their trunk and just selling the physical albums, right? And they do have some platforms that you actually can put your music on, and basically I've seen some new artists doing, like LaRussell for one. He's definitely doing it. Right? Yeah. You come, hey, I'm on this platform. You can't go get it from Spotify. You can't get it from Apple Music. You got to come get it from over here. And I think he started out by saying, just give me whatever you want to give me. Just listen to it. You can give me $1.
Yep. But
it's more than what you're gonna. It's
more,
way
right?
more than what you would get from Spotify.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting $1.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, man. Some of these things are more damaging. Whereas you're sitting up here and you're being creative and you're getting this creative piece of art, and you're just pretty much giving it away for anybody to come and say, "Oh, I like it. I'll check it out." And basically, you're getting pennies, literally pennies, right? So I just think that people shouldn't get so far and so heavily invested. I know it's easy. Yeah, you can put your stuff on the streaming platform and basically everybody has access to it. I understand the concept. I get it. But what happens is that I think Snoop said he had got 1 billion streams in 1 month. And he said for 1 billion streams, they only gave him like
40,000.
Yeah, 40,000.
Yeah.
You look at people like Michael Jackson, man, like, I don't really think any artist is ever going to sell more physical copies than Michael Jackson.
Oh, no.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
He's going to hold that title forever.
Right. But just think, all those people had to physically go buy a copy, you know? And that's the thing that we got to start thinking about. I know people who have started digital businesses and they're making a ton of money, and that works for that model. That's great. I just think for some models, people need to go back to the old school. You know what I'm saying? Because it's more beneficial. That's just mainly what I wanted to say about it. It's just everything that's digital ain't good. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear you, and we can keep talking about this, but time's up. So we got to wrap it up. Thank you, Maurice, for jumping on the show as always and coming up with the topic. This was a good one. And I'm going to wrap this up. We're already over the limit. This is Darrin Harvey. This has been Financial State of Minds on KGPC 96.9, streaming on KGPC969.org, available on all streaming platforms of choice. This has been Financial State of Minds. But peace, kings, and queens. If you like this show, please follow us on financialstateofminds.com and all social medias. All saying Financial State of Minds. Follow FSM_org for our nonprofit site to get more information on that. And if you like this episode and you're watching it on YouTube or on any other video platform of choice, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family interested in good old financial literacy. Appreciate you guys. Peace, kings, and queens.